Second, from problems of translation, as some of you already know, the protagonist, Charles Abel Baker, a mostly unknown writer of advanced middle age, is seized by a desire to see one of his short stories translated successively into 10 different languages, then back into English, a sort of literary version of the old party game, Telephone. Unsuccessful at getting a publisher to back his gambit, Charles decides to accomplish his goal himself and to accompany his story around the world. Along the way, he has lots of adventures, some funny, some romantic, some hair-raising. In this selection, Charlie is in India. He has met a young filmmaker who is doing a remake of Forster's A Passage to India. As this excerpt begins, she's just driven him from Bangalore to a set she's had built in the countryside, a mock-up of the famous Malabar caves, where she's preparing to film a scene from chapter 30, called What Happens in Vegas Stays in Vegas. They'd arrived at the set only moments before. Sajal had invited Charles to look around and then disappeared, no doubt to attend to some technical details of the scene that would soon be shot here. He took a few steps into the middle cave of the three he saw before him. He moved forward one slow step at a time. Before the light had dissolved completely, he sidestepped to a wall, palmed it, then inched forward using its surface as a guide. Should he light a match, he wondered? Then remembered that he carried no matches. Oh, never mind. What to do now? He decided to see whether Sajal's technician had reproduced the strange echo he'd read about in Forster's fictional recreation of the caves. What words should he speak to test it? Alone as he was, he felt safe to say, "I wonder where the beautiful and sexy Sajal is at this moment." Although he hadn't expected to hear his own words come back to him in the thrumming overtones Forster had described, what did come back was a shock, the voice of his hostess. "So you think I am sexy, eh?" A trick? He hadn't seen her come in. In fact, no one had followed him. Charles was embarrassed. "Oh my God, Sajal, I'm so sorry. I had no idea you were here." A pause. Mortified, he whispered, "Are you here?" His face burned so hotly he feared it might generate a visible glow. He tried to discern the direction the voice had come from. "I really didn't mean to insult you," he tried again. Shh." A whispered command. But from where? Could she be behind him? She was. A moment later he had no doubt of this, as a pair of warm arms encircled his waist and joined themselves together across his stomach. Her full breasts pushed against his back. "Oh my God," he thought, "is this really happening?" At the same time, he made an unconscious effort to tighten his stomach muscles in a futile effort to eliminate his paunch. "Have you been fantasizing about Adela's experience in the cave, Charlie Baker?" Her voice was soft, teasing. "Mr. Abel Baker, Charlie Dog? The experience that did not happen to Adela, that did not happen to Dr. Assis, but whose reality is so palpable you imagine that it happened anyway?" She tightened her hold, pressing herself harder against him. "No, of course not. Nothing like that. I never thought of such a thing." "Of course you did, Dr. Baker. You are a man, are you not? All men think about such things." "Well, yes, but—" "Hush now," she said again, and her hands began moving all over. Perhaps I have thought about such an encounter in these caves myself, she whispered, gathering tension in her voice. Perhaps I have created them precisely for that reason. What do you think? We are totally in the dark now, Charlie, and no one will know unless one of us tells. Correct? One soft hand moved upward to his chest. Unbuttoning his shirt, it slipped inside. The other dropped lower, found his hardness, traced its outline. Sejal, shh. He could, of course, overpower her, pry her arms loose, spin her around, force her away, demand, in his most imposing voice, that she stop. Right. Like that was going to happen. Then, just when her fingers started toying with his zipper, when he felt his defenses totally breached, the hand stopped moving. The arms disappeared. Abruptly, with a strength that surprised him, she spun him about and placed his other arm, then his hand, against the wall. He was now turned toward the way he had entered the dark. A non-event, Dr. Baker. Her voice was cold. Just as in the novel. We must follow the script, correct? Nothing happened. All in the head. Walk forward close to the wall. Soon you will see the light. When he emerged into the shattering sunlight, he found the meager camera crew milling about. A kind of picnic seemed to be in progress. Some snacked on papadums, samosas, and pakoras that lay scattered across paper plates at a small folding table. Others fiddled with tripods, banks of lights. Sejal was nowhere to be seen. When she did appear, a half hour later, it was from somewhere else. He never saw her exit the cave. She joked for a while with her crew, then began barking orders. It was as if she'd forgotten he was there. On the return trip to Bangalore, they rode in a silence as vast as the Deccan Plateau. His lip began to twitch, but there was nothing he could do about it, so he did his best to ignore it. Two thoughts kept circling in his head, as if searching for somewhere safe to land. The first, fueled by a bubbling anger, was that he had been played. He had not seen that coming. He'd been duped, soiled, tossed away like a used dust rag. The second, totally incompatible, was that maybe he had fantasized the whole thing. It was dark, he could see nothing, so maybe it was wish fulfillment. But if that were the case, wouldn't he have wished for consummation? At the door of the hotel, she flashed him a coquettish smile, then roared off into the night as if nothing had happened. Thank you.